So I was just doing a little maintenance to my truck. I've had this Dirtking long travel kit on for about a year, and I installed it myself with some Total Chaos gussets and the Heim uppers. Interestingly enough, the distance that they shipped from the factory was pretty much perfect for my alignment, so I actually didn't need to adjust very much. My other side is about a degree out, so I do need to change that, but so far the kit's been working great. One thing I wanted to address was the issue of the uniball longevity. So I was reading online before I got the kit about how long these would last. You know, they're about $50 a piece if you've looked around, and that's probably higher with inflation now. But, you know, replacing these every year because of the weather, I guess I should say, I live up in Maine. You can see a little bit of, you know, rust in the frame and on the tie rods there. Probably got to address those at some point. But I live up in Maine. I put about 10,000 miles a year on this thing last year, and you know, the roads are pretty salty out here, so this thing was getting constantly doused with grit and salt. And you know, I was reading that people up in the Northeast get about a year out of these before they get totally trashed. So I was a little concerned about that, especially with these the Heims back in here being, you know, completely exposed. I know they sell boots for them for certain, I guess, models of truck. I saw that Dirtking has boots for these for the 05 to 09 GM, I believe. I have to check that. But yeah, no boots, nothing. And I gotta say, these have held up pretty well. I'm gonna try to move it so you can see. You know, before when I got these were so tight that I couldn't move them by hand, but now, well, now I'm having a little bit of a hard time here, one-handed. But I can move this pretty much with one hand. You can, oh, there we go, I got it to go. So they've worn in a little bit, and you can kind of see, I don't know how well my camera is picking it up here, but you can see a little bit of, you know, burnishing on the ball from the grit. So there's definitely some wear, and if there was a snowstorm out, I'd hear some squeaking from these. And so what I would do right away is spray them down with my little spray bottle over here. I'd keep this in my truck, so when I get to work, I'd spray them down real quick, and I keep a roll of shot towels, you know, in my back seat as well, and I would just wipe these down, you know, and then I would hit them with a little Tri-Flow. I've got my Tri-Flow back in my door jamb right here, little Tri-Flow lubricant. So if you're looking at these long travel kits, you're going to go through, I think you should go through some of this stuff. On the forums, they were saying that people would have issues over lubing the balls, you know, and so I thought, well, I'll put that to the test. So basically every time I drove this, when it was snowing out, I would spray it down with water and hit it with about 20 drops of Tri-Flow, like an excessive amount of Tri-Flow. I'm almost out. I almost used an entire bottle over the last winter. And I mean, I don't know, the proof is in the pudding, as they say. These balls have held up fine. They got a little bit of wear, but I think they'll last another year, maybe 2 years. And especially if I, you know, move out of Maine to a more temperate climate, then they should be fine for even longer. So I think the key to these things is, you know, keeping them clean. People were talking about that on the forums, but I think, you know, keeping them clean and lubed is the way to go. You know, so I keep a little spray bottle, and pretty much every time I go out, you know, even if I'm driving it on the street, I just hit it with a spray and a little lube. You know, these balls are pretty sturdy, right? They have about 70,000 pounds of radial load, so that's like more than your suspension or your truck is going to see without exploding. So 70,000 pounds of radial load is huge, and I like to say, you know, clean balls and oily balls are happy balls, and they can take those huge loads and keep on trucking. So keep your balls clean, keep them nice and oiled. That would be, you know, my anecdotal advice. But I don't really post on YouTube very much, so comment below, and if you have, I guess, some experience with these balls, you know, let me know. Also, I guess feel free to ask questions. I don't really check my YouTube channel very much, but yeah, everything else seems to be holding up. I'm going to go around and check the other balls. You know, it's got lots of balls, and we like that. Yeah, there's another one hiding down there, and I would just stick my finger in there and, you know, just give it a wipe. I haven't checked underneath there, so we might discover some gremlins under there, but so far so good. This guy down here on the shock eye, that is a, I think a COM 10 size bearing, so I'm going to check that, but I would just give that a little spray. It's kind of hard to lube that one. But I give it a little spray every now and then just to keep the grit off of it, keep the salt off of it. And yeah, the same with those guys up there. Those are a bit bigger than COM 10, obviously, but yeah, I mean, I'm pretty happy with this thing. I thought I'd have to try to switch out to like Icon Delta joints or, you know, something ridiculous like that, or be changing these things out every year, and I haven't had to touch it. So yeah, just give it a wipe down and give it a nice oiling, and you should be good to go. I guess I'll try to post an update if these things explode on me. But yeah, so if you're thinking about buying a Dirtking kit, then and you're in the Northeast, I'd say go for it. There's not really too much to be concerned about, at least as far as longevity is concerned. Obviously, these are going to wear out faster than a ball joint due to the exposed nature. I'm kind of thinking that there might be a way to, like, if you got a magnet and a piece of rubber, you could like glue a piece of rubber on top of here, or no, glue a piece of rubber on a magnet and just magnet it to the top here to kind of cover this up, because it seems like a lot of debris just kind of gets flicked up into the wheel well and then just falls down on top of the ball. So that might be something to consider. But yeah, other than that, I don't know. Yeah, just got to grease my bushings, and what else? That's really about it. I got to adjust the. I'll just show you the other side here. I got to adjust the camber. You probably can't see that, but this wheel's about a degree that way. So yeah, I guess you're welcome for this incredibly high production value video. Yeah, looking in there, it kind of looks rusty, but it's just a little dirty. It's just the light. The camera's having a hard time focusing there. But yeah, everything's held up pretty great on the front end of this thing. One other thing is, whenever you take your four-wheel drive hubs apart, make sure to put the stub shaft back in if you're not going to use the axles, because I drove it without the axles in and my wheel fell off. So don't do that. I gotta take care of this though. It's a little bit rusty. So anyway, yeah, that's all I can say about that. So have a good one. So yeah, as expected, the lower joint here, you can't really see that, can you? The lower joint here, I mean, you can already see how it has more stuff on it. I haven't really cleaned it off yet. Let me give it a little spray here, just to kind of demonstrate what I've been doing. You just kind of spray it out like that, and then you can kind of get down into the crevasse or the crevice. I apologize for the awkward angle here. It's kind of hard to do this while filming. But But yeah, that one, as expected, was a little bit sloppier than the other one. I mean, it didn't have any wiggle to it, but I could definitely feel that it was looser. Maybe I can demonstrate that here. I'll just move that with my hand. You see, the other one I was struggling, but this one moves pretty freely. I'm not sure if it's because I have the, I guess, the attachment on the bottom there, or if it's more worn out. I will say, you know, this is definitely the joint that's taking the most load, right? Because it's closer to our, you know, our wheel attachment point here. It's closer to the hub. So this ball is taking most of the load, and it's also the hardest to clean. So if I can get you a shot up in here of the underside, can you see that? I can't see that you see that, but there's a little bit of rust under there. So that'll just wipe off with a paper towel. But you know, it's yeah, that's a little less encouraging. So this one definitely does not have the lifespan of the top ball, but maybe that's to be expected. I don't know if that's because it's harder to clean, or because it experiences more load, or maybe both. So anyway, I'm gonna get that cleaned up. It's definitely, you know, within acceptable tolerance. It's not you know, it's not wobbling all over the place, but that Teflon liner in there is definitely a little more worn down. So that's a little disappointing, but you know, if you put a race car style suspension on your vehicle, then I suppose you can expect to have race car issues. So probably have to change that one out sooner than later. But anyway. So one thing I wanted to address, because I was just oiling this thing up, this bottom ball here, is on some of the forums I heard people talking about, I don't know what verb they used, but you know, they're talking about how the oil could suck the grit down into the liner, and you know, actually cause more wear because you're oiling it, and then the oil maybe is more lubricitous. I don't know what the right word is for that, but I'm not totally sold on that. I mean, that's certainly possible. I'm not sure if there are other examples of that happening in a mechanical assembly like this, but I mean, I found that, you know, I oiled these a bunch, like I said earlier, up to 10 to 20 drops per ball, and they're still fine. That one's a little loose, but the top one feels pretty good. So I don't know. I kind of feel like that, you know, that fear of the oil sucking the grit down into the liner is a bit unfounded. Much like with AR-15s, with M16s, and M4 carbines, you know, I don't know. The rule was you should avoid using too much lube, or use as little lube as possible in desert conditions. And I guess for the same reason, to avoid grit from getting stuck to the weapon. It seems like a very similar hypothesis, but I mean, as you can see here, you know, these things are looking fine. They're still pretty tight. I think these have a lot of life left in them. And if you don't know about uniballs, they have a very safe failure mode. You know, these aren't like ball joints where they're loose and then you're rolling down the highway and one just pulls out. You know, these will make a very loud banging noise as they start to fail. So you will definitely know when one's on the way out, and you should probably have spares on hand, and I have an AGM on the vehicle tool to just, you know, pop the snap ring and pull it right out on the vehicle, as opposed to having to take the whole arm off. But yeah, I mean, I don't really know what to say to the oil sucking theory. I suppose that's another thing we can add to the list. You know, oil balls are happy balls. and they're not sucking dirt down into themselves, as far as I can tell. So yeah, do with that information what you will. So I hope this video was helpful. This kit has been holding up great, and yeah, I don't know what else to say. Good luck with your long travel adventures.